Hello. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about two more of the natural disasters that are landslides as well as the volcanic eruptions. We may be very familiar with the natural disaster landslide because it is quite happening quite often in our land. So, a natural disaster created by volcanic eruption is not that much often or very common in our land. So, we will be discussing another case study from another country. So, we will start with the landslides. So, the term landslides describes a wide variety of processes that result in the downward and outward movement of a slope forming material that includes rock, soil, some artificial fill, or it may also be the combination of this. And the materials may move by falling, toppling, sliding, spreading, and flowing. So, although landslides are primarily associated with the mountainous region, they can also occur in areas that is generally of lower leaf, and in such lower leaf areas, landslides occur at say a cut and fill failure for a roadway, a building excavation, a river bluff failure, lateral spreading landslides, and some collapse of some mine waste piles. And these types of landslides are very common in areas where the area or a hill has been cut by unscientific methods. So there are different types of landslides. Let's take a look on the types of landslide. The first one are the slides. Although many types of mass movements are included in the general term landslides, the more restrictive use of the term refers only to the mass movements where there is a distinct zone of weakness that separates the slide material from the more stable underlying material. The two major types of slides are the rotational slide and the translational slide. There is one more slide that is the block slide we will be discussing here. The first one is the rotational slide. This is a slide in which the surface of rupture is concavely upward and the slide movement is roughly rotational about an axis that is parallel to the ground surface and transverse across the slide. So you can see in the figure, you can see the concave or the curved surface. The next type of slide is the translational slide. In this type of slides, the landslide mass move along a roughly a planar surface with little rotation or backward tilting. So you can see very well, it is very clear from the images the difference between a translational slide as well as a rotational slide. The next type of slides are the block slides. It is a translational slide in which the moving mass consists of a single unit or a few closely related units that moves downslope as a relatively coherent mass. So it's a type of a translational slide. So the next type of landslides or next type of mass wasting are the faults. When we say the term faults, the most common one is a rock fall. It is a sudden fall or collapse of a large mass of material from a precipitous or a higher position. The rock fall occur along cliffs or very steep slopes where masses of rock can detach and begin a free fall, often combined with some bouncing or rolling descent, and no slip plane or a surface of flow is involved in such a rock fall. And they are very rapid, and because of their speed and sudden occurrence, they are often very dangerous. So as you can see in the figure, the rock falls are the abrupt movement of masses of geological material such as rocks or boulders that become detached from the steep slopes or the cliffs, and the separation occurs along the discontinuities such as fractures, joints, or some bedding planes, and the movement occur by free fall, bouncing, and rolling. And the falls are strongly influenced by gravity, mechanical weathering, and the presence of interstitial water, and particularly in the frost condition, the rock fall is a very predominant type of mass wasting. The second one is the toppling failure. The toppling failures are distinguished by the forward rotation of a unit or some units about some pivotal points below or low in the unit under the action of gravity and the force exerted by the adjacent units or by some fluids in the cracks. So they will be detaching as a unit. So the next type of mass movements or landslides are the flows. There are different types of flow that differs from one another in some fundamental ways. The first one is a debris flow. It is a form of rapid mass movement in which the combination of loose soil, organic matter, then a rock, air, water, all will mobilize as a slurry that will flow downslope. And the debris flow includes less than 50% of the fines. And the debris flows are very commonly caused by intense surface water flows and due to heavy precipitation or some rapid snowmelt that erodes and mobilize the loose soil and rock on the steep slopes. And the debris flow sources areas are often associated with some steep gullies through which the first order, second order stream will be flowing. And debris flow deposits are usually indicated by the presence of debris fan at the mouth of the gullies. The fires that denude the slopes of the vegetation intensify the susceptibility of the slopes to a debris flow. The next type of flow is the earth flow. They have a characteristic hourglass shape and the slope material liquefies and runs out, forming a bowl or a depression at the head. The form itself is elongated and usually occur in fine-grained material or clay-bearing rock on a moderate slope and under saturated condition. However, there are dry flows of granular material or can also be possible. The next one is a mud flow. It is a earth flow consisting of material that is not saturated or that is not wet enough to flow rapidly and that contains at least 50% of sand, silt and clay sized particles. In some instances, many of our newspapers have been commonly referred the mud flow and debris flow as mudslides. The next one is a debris avalanche. It is a variety of very rapid to extremely rapid debris flow and which can cause severe damage to life as well as the property. So we just completed the types of landslides. So let's take a look on what are the possible causes for a landslide. Although there are multiple causes of landslides, the three major causes that can cause damaging or devastation landslides around the world are: first one is water, second one is seismic activity, and third one is the volcanic activity. So landslides and water. So the slope saturation by water is a primary cause of the landslide, or this effect can occur in the form of intense rainfall or snow melt or change in the groundwater level and the water level changing along the coastline, near dam and banks of some other local water tables. So the landslide and also the landslides and flooding are closely allied because both are related to the precipitation, runoff and saturation of the ground by water. And in addition, the debris flow, the mud flow usually occur in small, steep stream channels and often are mistaken for the floods. In fact, these two events are very closely and simultaneously operating in the same area. And all the landslides that has been occurred in the Kerala during the past few years are closely associated with the major cause for such landslides that is occurring in Kerala for the last 5 years is the rainfall. And the intensive, not all the rainfall are causing the landslide. The intensive rainfall, when the soil can't bear the amount of water that is precipitated into the soil, then it can cause the load and can cause to the landslides. And also the landslide can cause flooding by forming some temporary dams that block the valley and the stream channels and allowing large amount of water to back up. This causes the backwater flooding, and if some dam fails, subsequent downstream flooding. And also solid landslide debris can bulk or add volume and density to otherwise normal stream flow and cause the channel blockages and the diversions, creating flood condition or the localized erosion in the areas, in the surrounding areas. And the landslide can also cause overtopping of the reservoir, or it can lead to the reduced capacity of the reservoir to store water. And the next cause is the seismic activity. In many mountainous areas that are vulnerable to landslides have also experienced at least moderate rates of earthquake occurrence in recorded time. The occurrence of earthquake in steep landslide prone area greatly increases the likelihood to the landslide that will occur. And due to the ground shaking alone, or the shaking caused by some dilation of the soil material, which allow rapid infiltration of the water, which in turn causes the, or which in turn increases the susceptibility of the soil for a landslide. The next cause is the volcanic activity. And landslides which are due to the volcanic activity are some of the most devastating types. The volcanic lava may melt the snow or the ice at a very rapid rate, causing a deluge of rock, soil, ash, water that accelerates or which flows very rapidly on the steep slopes of the volcano, and that which can cause a devastating effect on anything in its path. These volcanic debris flow, which is also known as the lahars, reach great distance once they leave the flanks of the volcano, and they can cause damage to the structures in flat areas surrounding the volcano. So let's take as a case study of the devastating volcano that occurred in the Puthumala area in 2019. So as you all know, Puthumala is a plantation village near the Merapi, that is 20 kilometers away from the Kalpetta town in the Wayanad district, and it is located around 1230 meters above the mean sea level. And on August 8, 2019, due to heavy rainfall in the monsoon season, severe flood and landslide affect the state of Kerala. A massive landslide that occurred in the Puthumala village. The epicenter of the landslide was around 290 meters high on the mountain, which brought down 20 hectares of land, pushing into the distance of about 2 kilometers. The analysis of the rainfall data showed that in just a span of 24 hours before the landslide, the area received around a tremendous amount of rainfall. That's recorded around 500 millimeters of intense rainfall in that area. And the Puthumala landslide started out one of those smaller landslides which occurred in the deep inside the forest. However, the landslide turned catastrophic because of the soil structure in the lower part was very fragile and soaked in the rain. And when the rocks and soil crushed under pressure, it turns into a huge landslide, and it was observed that a large portion of the hill was collapsed and a huge strip of the valley land was filled with mud, rocks and debris. And some of the major factors for the landslide in this region were, of course, it was high rainfall intensity that results in the soil disintegration. Then to an extent, the deforestation, the shallow soil depth resulting in the water seeping into the cavities, and the soil piping and the cardamom farming on the side of the mountain made the soil very loose, and the vanquishing streamline due to the construction and occupation, the unscientific construction and the mining of the hills which changed the structure of the soil. So all these causes add to the cause. All these things added to the proximity or the probability for an landslide. And in Puthumala, nearly 100 acres of tea plantation was washed away in the massive landslide, and around 60 people have lost their lives due to this landslide. There were so many economic impacts due to this landslide, and based on the assessment of Soil Conservation Department of the Wayanad district, around 25,000 hectares of area had lost the top fertile soil of 2 centimeters, which would severely affect the agriculture production. Nearly 40 hectares of land was affected by the landslide or this landslip. The soil nutrients were washed away due to the high intensity rainfall event in the region, and as a result of the landslide, Soil covered the whole plantation of coffee and tea of the 300 acres. And this landslide site was a part of the ecologically sensitive Western Ghats, and there were on the list of areas which are vulnerable to the landslides. So let's move into the next type of natural disasters, which are the volcanoes. We are not very common with the volcanic natural hazard. In India, there is only one volcano which is present in the Andaman Nicobar Islands. So a volcano is a mountain that opens downwards to a reservoir of a molten rock below the surface of the earth, or they act as a venue through which the molten magma reaches the surface of the earth. Unlike most mountains, which are pushed up from far from the below, volcanoes are vent through which molten rocks escapes into the earth's surface. When pressure from the gases within the molten rock becomes too great, an eruption occurs. An eruption can be quiet or explosive. There may be lava flows, flattened landscapes, the extrusion of poisonous gases, and the flying rocks and ash that can sometimes travels up to miles of the distance. And the volcanic eruption may be subtle or explosive and can produce dangerous lava flows. Many volcanic eruptions are also accompanied by other natural hazards such as earthquakes, landslides, debris flow, flash flood, fires, and if it occur under the water, or it can occur even trigger a tsunami. And there are typically, and these volcanoes are typically located along the borders of the tectonic plates, which sits on the lithosphere. When changes in pressure and density occurs in the magma chamber beneath the volcano, it can force lower density lava and rock to rise, sometimes explosively. More than 75% of the active volcanoes are within the Pacific Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire stretches along the western coast of South, Central, and North America, then across the eastern coast of Russia, China, Japan, Philippines, and Malay Islands in the South Pacific Ocean. While many volcanoes are located under the ocean, those on the land can pose great danger to life depending on the proximity to the inhabited area with the volcano. And of course, it is dependent on the intensity of the eruption also. For example, Mount Vesuvius in Italy is a famous historical and modern example. The volcano destroyed two cities 2000 years ago, and today millions of people still live with the close proximity of this active volcano. And the volcanoes are generally classified as being active, dormant, or extinct based on their level of activities. There are different types of eruption that can occur from a volcano. There can be some pyroclastic material, that is the rocks. The hot ash can be released. Lava flow may be there. Some poisonous gas emissions may be there, and it can also have some secondary effects also, such as a volcano can trigger the melting of the ice and snow, which can later develop into a flood or a landslide. And the hot ash release can start some forest fires. So we are taking a case study from Indonesia, Java Island, that is Mount Merapi. So it is located in the Southeast Asia in the country of Indonesia. It is on the island of Java, and it is around 1,700 meter high and has been erupting regularly since 1500. And the volcano is located on the destructive plate margin at a subduction zone, and it is also part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. And the effects caused by this can be divided into primary as well as the secondary. The primary effects are caused directly by the volcano. The volcanic bombs and the volcanic rocks and volcanic gases up to 800 degrees Celsius spreads over 11 kilometers away from the volcano, and the lava flow spreads 3 kilometers down the mountain. The ash that is erupted from the volcano that falls around up to 30 kilometers away from the volcano, and it was thrown up around 5 kilometers into the sky. The villages which were located 15 kilometers away from the volcanoes were under 30 centimeters of ash. And the sulfur dioxide gas which was released during the volcanic eruption was blown across the Indonesia and as far as to the Australia. And the secondary effects were they are resulted from the primary effect, and due to this lava flows and the volcanic eruption, tremendous loss in crops and cultivation has been done to the area. So unlike other natural disasters, this volcanic eruption has got some positive as well as negative impacts. Of course, the negative impact will be some peoples will be killed, and particularly in this area, in this volcanic eruption, 270 peoples were killed and around more than 500 peoples were injured. And due to such a incident, the evacuation centers were overcrowded, leading to poor sanitization and the serious disease risk. And the peoples, particularly farmers, lost their homes and livelihoods. There were some positive impacts also due to the Mount Merapi eruption. There were the ash from the volcanoes will eventually lead to more fertile soil in the area, and the conservation area has been set up around the volcano where it is unsafe to live. So with this, I am just concluding my session on landslide as well as volcanic disasters.